Guys, am I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible. What happened actually?
Somebody disconnected me, so I have to rejoin. I
Yeah,
mean,
Shikant.
the connection is going on, but somebody disconnected
Oh,
my sharing.
how come?
Not sure either I mean, I was maybe the normal participant, or I have become somebody changed to me host, and then it got reconnected. Something happened.
You are a host actually. You are a host. How can we somebody?
No. Now I became a host. I think during that host connection process, I think Amit and other few of our team members have actually disconnected from the call. I think it got while switching back. I think it got reconnected back to me. I'm not sure what was the actual issue. So I was actually talking. I don't know that
Okay.
the audio got stopped. So let
Anyway,
me, yeah. So let me repeat. No problem. So control redundancy. If you look into from the vManage point of view, generally we build a vManage cluster at least with a minimum of 3 devices. That is for the scalability point of view, because vManage can handle up to 2000 edge devices, 2000 WAN devices, right? And to have more than 2000 devices managed by the vmanage, we are forming a cluster with the 3 devices. The cluster architecture needs to have a minimum of 3 devices that needs to be as a part of the cluster. Okay. And once for but this is not for the geo redundancy, because you have the recommendation of the cluster. All of them needs to be part of one single data center itself because of the latency requirements. So hence these are not for the geo redundancy. But if you want to have the geo redundancy, you can have one more cluster ready in another location as a standby, because you cannot have the active redundancy for the vmanage the vsmart, because vsmart is an active redundancy. Vmanage, you can have the active standby redundancy, and the database replication needs to be done between those vmanages that are segregated for the geo redundancy, right? Initial days, it was completely a manual database replication, where the network administrator needs to take the backup of the database of the vmanage, of the active vmanage, and load it into the standby vmanage and convert it to the active. But later now, there is an option within the vmanage that you can have one more vmanage acting as an arbitrator, so where it will sync the database from the active cluster to the standby cluster. Okay. But generally, I mean, these are all the requirements that if you have from the on-prem environment. Generally from the vmanage, if you are doing a cloud hosted point of view, you have already slas, everything is met. And the failover from the cloud point of view is almost enabled to move the vms from one location to another location, just like a vmotion how we do it in the VMware. So we have that everything is ready within the cloud, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay. But what, let's say if you have one single vmanage that is lost, so only thing is you will not have any impact on the existing data plane communication. But only thing that you lose is you don't have any administration changes that you can do, or you don't have any statistics information that can be collected from each and each individual device, right? You will lose some of the reporting or the statistics, but your existing data plane connectivity will not have any impact.
Shikant, in case suppose your vManage is down and one of your VH router reboots. So in that case, will it? Take the configuration from the NVRAM or it will not reboot.
It will reboot. It has, I mean, the vmanage all each vh also, or the manage device also saves the configuration locally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will reboot from the NVRAM configuration. Correct.
Whatever the configuration that it has last saved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Take care.
Okay, so let's look into the deep dive some of the deployment models, how the zero trust fabric works, or the fabric operation templates, and some of the high availability models, right? So let's look into deployment models. We have 3 deployment models. One is the cloud delivered completely by Cisco for all the controllers. this is we are talking about the controller deployment models completely. You have the cloud delivered model by Cisco. I think Air India is using this particular model. But apart from that, we have the other models. One is the partner delivered. For example, if you are a managed service provider as an MSP, something like you have the, for example, Tata, Sifi, or all these companies, they are the managed service providers because they are providing the MPLS connectivity for their customers. And for few customers, they are also hosting the SD-WAN solution from the Cisco SD-WAN point of view. In that case, partner will host the cloud, host all the controllers within their partner cloud. And you are on or if you want to host on-prem, maybe the reasons come, a few of the reasons for this is, for example, these a few of the public sector environments from the security point of view, or the military or the army, navy, so they don't want to manage a few of the devices by third party cloud, so they want everything to be on prem. Or for that matter, the banking sector, the financial sector, they want to have every device hosted locally within their premise, not somewhere and then managed to them, so for the security reasons or the compliance reasons. In that case, if you want to host your controllers within on-prem, you can do that as well, right? Only thing is you need to
But even
provide.
we, but Shrikant, but even if we actually host the controllers on the cloud, the
Yeah.
data plane resides in the edge device itself. So I mean, from the security point of view, also it is secure, no?
No, I mean, from what they look, those organizations look is from the banking sector and everything. Your data plane is
Yeah,
here, but the entire statistics, all the related information is hosted here, right?
yeah,
Still, it is visible.
yeah.
It's in the third party. Third party has your configuration information. They can change. Let's say
So only the router configuration resides in the controller, but the user data actually resides in the data plane, which is local.
user data, yeah, from user data that is
Yeah.
still resides at the data plane, which is at your location. The only the control data and management data resides in the cloud.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So one more thing. I mean, Shrikant, in the last slide when you said that after, I mean, the router reboots and suppose the controller is not available,
Uh-huh.
but the router will not be able to get any of the routes because the control connections are not there. So even if it reboots, it is of no use, now, because it will not be able to make any tunnels or something with the other edge routers
No,
without any routes.
only in case vSmart is down.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Suppose if
Yeah,
vSmart is down,
if
then the
vSmart is
router will
down,
not be.
and during that
Yeah,
time, if your WAN router is also rebooted, then obviously that
yeah,
site is completely isolated
yeah, yeah. That is what correct.
because it
Okay.
cannot get any of the TLOC information to form the data plane tunnels to the other sites, and it will not get the routing information and everything.
But in
That
case,
that
like suppose you're,
information that information will not saved within something like in your NVRAM, because that's a real time information that gets pushed from the vSmart to all the WAN routers.
yes, yes. But suppose your, I mean, vSmart is down, but your router is up and running, correct? So
Yeah,
in that
if
case, it
router
will
is up
continue to
and
run. It will continue to run like
it
that,
will
right?
it will continue to run for 12 hours by default until that graceful timer expires. The default graceful
Yeah, yeah.
timer, you can have option to extend that time to 7 days.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So now the cloud delivered approach. So basically, you have the cloud model. If you look into, you have the Cisco Cloud Ops team or the Cisco Field team. So they will deploy all the controllers for you within the Cisco Cloud. The Cisco is having, I mean, maybe Cisco is maintaining their own cloud as well for few of the customers, but generally they use AWS. They host all the controllers within AWS because Viptela as a company before the acquisition, they were using the AWS to host all their controllers as an automation process and everything. Cisco still continuing to use that. Okay. So of course, for an end customer, it doesn't matter as long as we have the seamless connectivity back from our sites to the controllers. It doesn't matter as long as we have connectivity, right? So as of now, the Cisco connectivity, which is completely managed by the Cisco Cloud Ops team, okay, and the partner stuff, for example, let's say it can also be delivered as a service from your the MSP, the managed service providers. In that case, the partner staff will manage the entire thing. If it is an on-prem, basically your IT staff will manage this, all the hosting of this. And now again, you have two things here. Cisco is just providing the hosting services of these controllers. Being said, That means any configuration related parameters or any upgrades that you want to do on all these devices, it's not the duty of the Cisco. They just host the controllers, they maintain the device level operations, they will not maintain your network level and the application level operations for these controllers. This is managed by completely your IT staff itself.
Okay. So what about the iOS version of the vManage devices? Who will maintain that? Like in case of
That
upgradation
is
is required?
that's what I'm saying. That is IT staff. So that you need to upgrade.
Oh, okay. That we need to upgrade.
That you need to upgrade. Cisco will
So
not upgrade.
basically, the AWS team or the Cisco teams only takes care of the hardware part or the environmental part, right?
Yeah, basically that VM they will provide, and then they will maintain the redundancy of each and every VM at the back end, and then provide connectivity back to the end customer
Okay.
from the security point of view. I mean, if you look into, let's say you got your own vManage URL, right? So there will be some kind of a
Mhm.
whitelist within the AWS cloud that they have done from the security point of view, so that if you try to access the same URL from a different location, you will not be able to access it. So you need to go with you need to go out to reach
Yeah,
that
correct.
via the same whitelisted IP.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, as you are asking, if it is an upgrade, that the end customer needs to take care of the upgrades of each and every device.
So how will we actually come to know that the upgrade is required?
And of course, I mean, you will be seeing the release notes of each and every release, right? Maybe if you have a feature, or if you might have a bug that might be in the existing version, that like how you are upgrading the normal routers, right? Generally, why do you want to
Okay.
upgrade? Maybe there is a bug that you have identified within that, and there is a the next version is released, or there might be a
Mhm.
feature that you are looking at which is not available in the current version, which might be available in the future release. You identify that, and based on your requirement, you can upgrade to the desired version of your own choice.
We can also take a help from the Cisco tag for this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you can take help from Cisco tag. That is there. As long as you have support,
Okay.
you
And
can call the Cisco tag and then
yeah.
take their support as well.
And will
Okay.
we get an alert because we are having a Cisco Smart account for SD-WAN devices?
Uh-huh.
So, do we get an alert about this software updates also?
No, you need to subscribe within the Cisco software download portal. If, for the any recent releases has been released.
Okay.
That is there for even any of the normal routers also. It's there.
So
Once you have
vManage,
the
I mean, so on vManage we do not get any alert for the upgradation.
no on vManage on individual device you will not get any of the upgradation. I mean
Okay.
upgradation alerts won't get.
ठीक है.
There should be some free VM to test the update. It may interrupt your production setup
Correct.
if there is bug.
You need to have your own environment for testing before you actually upgrade it to the latest version or your desired choice version.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean Cisco will not provide you the lab environment until and unless, I mean, you can check with your accounting team or sales team to test a few of the things. Most of the customers that we see is they create their own lab environment for testing any of the new software versions to see if it is hitting any of the new bugs, or will it create any issue with the existing network after upgrading it. So you need to create your own lab, or you can subscribe to any of the online the labs as a service. There are few labs as a service companies that they provide labs for these kind of testing, so you can subscribe to them as well. Okay, so now partner delivered approach, of course you will have the partner ops team completely, right? Now, when it is a partner ops team, generally, because it is completely managed by the your partner itself, of course, even the individual SD-WAN operations also will be managed by the partner itself, because partner creates the vManage, vSmart, and vBond, and he will create. Generally, they will create in a multi-tenant environment for multiple customers the same vManage, right? So in that case, they will upgrade any of the latest releases that they have. So you are responsible only for the individual WAN devices. Even they generally you have the partner agreements. There are few partners who will also help you in upgrading your own WAN routers as well, depending on how your agreements work with the partner, whether they are completely managing end to end from the WAN point of view, or they are manageable only the or their responsibility is only to manage the controllers. It is up to what your agreements are having. But partner ops team can manage both in case if you have the full agreement. On-prem again, so you can host your own controllers, right? So you can go with your hosted controllers within your own AWS VPC or within your Azure VNet, or within on-prem you can actually host it under hypervisor, either ESXi or KVM, and you can bring up your own controllers. But in this case again, it is the responsibility of your individual team to manage everything, including the VM level, right? Because here you are creating your own VMs for the vBond, vManage, and vSmart. So you are responsible for end-to-end thing in case of the on-prem deployment. Okay, and it also supports the container. vSmart supports also the container. You can also either install it as a native VM, or if you are using any of the containers, you can download the container image for the vSmart and bring it up in your container environment as well. But from the networking point of view, you just need to have the IP reachability from the vSmart that container. Of course, once you have login, you don't see whether it is a container or a VM, because it's just a normal CLI operation for our network engineer. Again, on-prem deployment, as I said, IT staff only will deploy. IT staff, either OpenStack or VMware or Red Hat KVM, anything that you can do, and your IT staff will only manage all the devices from the operations point of view as well. Okay, so any questions on the operations model or anything, or the each individual device, the roles and responsibilities? Okay, guys, anybody, I mean, want to take a break, or we can continue directly? We can take a lunch break after this discussion. It's up to you guys. Sunil and team.
I think we can take a break of 10 minutes.
Sure, yeah.
Uh,
And we can come back by, it's, what's the time?
12:20.
12:20, yeah, sure.
Take care.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm back. Sunil and team, everybody is back. Everyone, am I audible? Sunil, Abed,
Yeah, let us wait for another 2-3 minutes, then we can
okay,
start.
okay, sure, sure. I was thinking because nobody is responding whether did I lost connectivity
No,
or.
no, just we want additional 2-3 minutes. We'll start.
Okay, sure, sure, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, anyone there?
Yes.
Please speak. Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes, Devender, I am there.
I think everybody is back. We can start now.
Sure. So now let's look into the zero trust fabric, right? So as we know that, hey, you can ask me questions, Rikant. Our controllers are completely within the cloud. If somebody knows it's the IP address or the vBond URL, can they come and connect it to our network and then get it managed, right? So one thing from the security point of view, of course, the cloud ops team will restrict a few of the IPs who can connect to the vManage URL, but from the vBond point of view, they can't restrict them, right? Because vBond you can have multiple public internet IPs that is coming from individual locations to join the fabric. So how do they trust the devices that are coming and joining in your network? So first of all, let's look into the individual.
Shrikant,
Yes.
Your voice is cracking actually.
Is it same for everyone, guys, or is it? Am I audible properly now? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
It's same for everyone, Srikant. Yeah.
Let me reconnect my audio.
Yeah, Shrikant.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
Shrikant, your voice is
Srikant, you are audible.
Let me reconnect, guys. Let me
Bansal,
reconnect.
audible है बोलो उनको. इस करके मेरे को कांटेक्ट करा थोड़े दिन पहले.
Guys, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay.
तो
Yeah.
मेरे को पूछा आप इंडियन एयरलाइंस के है, एयर इंडिया के है. मैं बोला इंडियन एयरलाइंस को. आप एक
There's some cross
सही
talking
तरह
happening.
रख के
Yeah.
Can you be on mute?
Moisey. Yeah, Moisey. Yeah. Now you can start.
Yeah. So now, as a part of the initial control plane whitelisting, first of all, control plane devices, which are basically the vManage, vBond, and vSmart, they need to authenticate themselves. They need to trust themselves. The trust comes within using the certificates between them, the signed certificate. Okay. So first, to provide the trust between them, what we do is administrator. So basically, as your IT administrator or the network administrator, he will add both the vBond and vSmart into the vManage. Okay, and once he add them to the vManage, he will then generate the certificate signing request, which is basically the CSR, and then he get it signed by the root CA. Either you can get it signed by the Cisco's root CA that is provided via the PNP portal now, or you can check with the Cisco Cloud Ops team to sign it for them via the DigiCert from the DigiCert portal, because they use the DigiCert certificates as well as the Cisco root chain as well. Just in case if you are doing an on-prem deployment and you don't want to use the Cisco root chain or the DigiCert root chain, if you have your own CA server, the certificate authority server, you can also get it signed by them, and after that you can install those certificates. Of course, you need to install your enterprise root CA chain certificate on all these three devices. Okay, once they are installed with the same once they have installed with the signed certificate and then authorized or the signed by the same root CA chain, so they can form the control connection between them. Okay, so that is how the control plane connection that happens between these three devices. So where exactly that you install or generate the CSRs and then the install certificates, that basically if you are doing an on-prem deployment, is you go to the vManage, under the configuration section you have the certificates. So you go to the certificates under the controller, where there you will have an option initially to add the vSmart and vBond. Then you can generate the CSRs, download the CSR and submit to your enterprise root CA server, be it your Windows 2012 server that you are hosting, or if it is an OpenSSL server, you can also use that, depending on what kind of a root CA server that you have in your organization. Okay, now this is how the controller's identity will come into picture. Okay, and now each device, so they will have the root chain of both DigiCert and then the Cisco root chain, and also the AVNet root chain in all the within their software. Okay, and initially, of course, Viptela when before acquisition, Viptela root chain was also used, hence you will also see the Viptela root chain also available within the software there. Now, once you have your root chain installed, then you will be generating the CSR and then provide it to the DigiCert team. So DigiCert is basically a company that Cisco or the Viptela was using earlier before the acquisition, or even after the acquisition, still they are using for few of their customers. You can submit the generated CSR from the vBond, vManage, and then the vSmart. Once they sign the certificate, they will send you the certificates. You go and install those certificates.
So in
Okay?
case of this ISR router, Cisco CH, hello, Shikant,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes, Srinivas, you're
So in
audible.
case of, yeah, so I have a question, like in case of Cisco ISR routers,
Okay.
this root chain certificate is installed in the SUDI chip, right?
In the SUDI chip.
Okay.
So within the
So that
Cisco, you will
actually,
have with the SUDI.
so basically all these routers are basically shipped with the onboard SUDI chip and onboard root chain certificate, correct?
Correct. Correct.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So we
So
don't need to install anything.
you don't need to install on anything on the physical hardware. The only thing that you need to install, just in case if you don't want to use either the Cisco root chain or the DigiCert root chain, you want to have your own enterprise root chain server and you want to use them, then you need to install those root chain certificate and then the signed certificate done by your root CA server. Otherwise, by default, you don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Okay, now you have the multiple things. You also have the AVNet root chain. AVNet root chain is basically the trust for VEdge hardware devices. Cisco root chain with the SUDI devices where we have the ISR 4K that you have mentioned. So that is inbuilt while the manufacturing itself. Okay, and now again we can also use the Viptela root chain via the vManage, where let's say if you have the VEdge cloud routers or the Cisco virtual routers that are without SUDI basically, that means these are virtual routers, right? There is no hardware associated with them. You need to install them within your ESXi or the KVM servers. They don't have a hardware to have these certificates. In that case, vManage can be signing the certificates on behalf of them and then they automatically installed on those devices. But the root chain certificate still need to be installed on those individual virtual routers. The signed certificate, vManage will sign the certificates for them and then automatically install on those devices. So now manage and the controllers whitelist basically is, first of all, you need to get the signed manage list. So this is where I have mentioned you need to go to your Cisco Smart Account portal. Under that, if you have multiple virtual accounts, select the virtual accounts that you are desired, where your individual serial number devices are listed. Download the serial file and then upload it to the vManage. There is an option to upload the serial file into the vManage. Once you upload that serial file into the vManage, you need to send it to the other controllers, vBond and vSmart. Now, all these controllers agreed on the WAN edge serial list, which serial number device is valid in our organization. Okay, so now that is done, you need to have you have the complete whitelisted or the valid WAN edge list information on all these devices. So now from the zero trust point of view, if somebody is, let's say, if somebody is trying to connect to your vBond because let's say your ex-employee, he knows the vBond IP. He was thinking that, hey, I have an internet connection, vBond is reachable. Now I have purchased one of the WAN router. Let me try to connect to the Air India environment and let's hack into some of the devices, right? So he tried to connect to the, let's say, this is the rogue device. We can call it as the rogue device. Now, so this WAN router, whatever the router that he is trying to connect, this is an SD-WAN image. He tried to configure because he is an ex-employee. He tried to say that, hey, I know the org name and I know the vBond IP address. Let me configure that. I have the internet connectivity and vBond is also reachable over the internet. Now, this guys goes and then try to connect to the vBond. vBond initially verifies the, first of all, certificate. Of course, the certificate, this is, let's say, the device is Cisco authorized device. He purchased it from the Cisco itself. So it will also have the certificate installed on it. That is fine. And now he knows the organization name. Okay, you are coming up with our organization only. That is fine. Now, vBond will ask you, can you present your serial number? Now, once he presents its serial number, vBond knows that, hey, I don't see you in my valid vantage list, so you might be a rogue device. I will not allow you to connect to any of my control plane devices and join the fabric. So it will tear down the connection over there itself. So that is where our initial zero trust will happen, even if somebody is trying to connect just by knowing the vBond IP address or the organization name. If they know, they will not be able to connect until and unless the router serial number is also valid between all these three control plane devices: vBond, vManage, and vSmart. Now the VH router identity. So VH router will have, during the manufacturing, they will have the AVNet device root certificate. Before the acquisition, Viptela was actually manufacturing devices with a third-party company. So they used to provide the AVNet device certificate, which is hard-coded during the manufacturing itself. So in that case, you will have the AVNet device certificate that is installed. Okay, and now if you are using, this is completely the during the manufacturing. Basically it is installed within the TPM module. We call it as the TPM module or the TPM chipset, the tampered proof module. Okay, it is installed during the manufacturing of that particular device itself. And you know that you will be see sometimes a DigiCert, sometimes a Symantec, because they are manufactured with the multiple, the root chain is basically signed by multiple vendors. If you look into the root chain of your existing software, you might find it from the Symantec, you might find it from the DigiCert, you might find it directly from the Cisco itself. All of their root chains are still valid, because at the during the process of the company evolution, initially they have tied up with the Symantec, then moved to the DigiCert, or there are a few acquisitions happened between those certificate authority companies that they have changed their certificate names and everything. But as an end user, we don't need to worry about that if you are doing automatically from the cloud ops team. And as if you are doing on an on-prem deployment, and if you are trying to provide you are trying to sign the certificates by your enterprise root CA server, then also you don't need to worry about these certificate chain or the root chains, because you are going to install your own enterprise root CA server's root chain certificate in all the devices. Okay, so you have that option as well. Now the Cisco router identity. So instead of AVNet, Cisco has this SUDI chip. So they inside the SUDI chip during the manufacturing itself, Cisco will install their device certificate. So that's the key difference. Still, Viptela OS or the VH devices comes up with the AVNet chipset. This is the key difference that you need to look into from the backend point of view. And the Cisco devices or the Cisco ISR devices, they come up with the SUDI certificate. And then without the SUDI, because let's say during the initial migration where Cisco is trying to bring up the SD-WAN within the Cisco IOS XE routers, the few of the hardware, they don't have the SUDI chip, or for that matter the individual virtual WAN routers, the VH Cloud or the CSR 1000V, they will not have these SUDI chip or the AVNet chipset, because those are the virtual devices. In that case, you can sign the individual devices by the vManage itself. Okay, so there is an option within the settings that you can choose. Let the vManage sign the Vantage devices. So you can choose that option. Okay, same process will applicable for VH Cloud, ISRV, or Cisco CSR 1000V routers as well, because they are not the hardware devices. They don't have the device certificates. Then the device certificates will be provided by the vManage itself. So when you are doing the VH Cloud router identity, so basically the virtual routers, what it will do is, how does it trust them? How does it trust by the individual vManage? What the individual vManage does is, it will generate an OTP, the one-time password for each virtual device serial number that you have loaded onto your control plane elements. Okay, so it is a combination of both the chassis ID and then the serial number. So it will be generated, and as a network administrator, you need to go ahead and apply or activate that OTP in the virtual device. Or there is also another option. I mean, if you are using the VMware ESXi servers just to host your virtual routers, virtual WAN routers, then you can do with the cloud init config. So which is basically it's written here already. So you can do with the cloud init configuration during the VM deployment itself. You can provide the OTP. So what that cloud init does is, after the boot up of the device, what needs to be executed within the device. So that is what this cloud init is meant for as a part of the VMware technology. Right? Or if you don't know about that, you simply log into the device once it is boot up. Then you can activate the individual vEdge by using the OTP. You can take this from the vManage devices portal itself. Okay, now vManage issues, once you issue the OTP, vManage issues the self-signed certificate for the vEdge cloud once the OTP validation is done. Then that once the validation is done and then the activation is done, once the self-signed certificate is provided, then vManage removes that OTP to prevent the reuse. If you decommission that device, then altogether it will generate a new OTP for other devices to activate it later on. Okay, so again, you can either for the individual vEdge clouds, the virtual routers, you can use the Symantec root CA or the Cisco PNP root CA chain for activating them, or you can also use your enterprise root CA server for that matter. So mutual trust should be there between all the devices, between the WAN routers, between the vSmarts, between the vBonds, between the vManages. You need to have the mutual trust between all these devices. So initially, who will validate this mutual trust? It's the job of vBond. Hey, while you are joining the network or while you are bringing up the control plane between the controllers, and for the WAN router while you are joining the SD-WAN fabric, you need to prove me that you have the certain root trust that is available, you have your org name, and of course the serial number as well, the certificate serial or the serial file number. So once we have the mutual trust, then you can form the WAN routers can join the SD-WAN fabric. So what at all vBond validates? vBond validates the root of the trust for vSmart, vManage, and then the edge devices, and then the serial numbers from the whitelist, and also the organization name. Okay, so these are the things that you need to look into when you are trying to bring up most probably your on-prem environment. When you are doing a cloud ops environment, you have this thing which is already done. And of course, maybe in the initial bring up of your or the cutover from the non-SD-WAN to SD-WAN, maybe Cisco would have uploaded your serial file, but later on when you are purchasing the new devices for your new provisioning of the branches, then it is the administrator duty to have a look into your smart account and then the virtual account portal to see that the new device serial number gets added, and then that is loaded onto your vManage and then pushed to that push to vBond and the vSmart.
So, Shrikant, like suppose if one of the working router gets failed,
Yeah.
and we get a RMA for the for that device.
Yes.
So, what are the steps that we need to look into it, and how do we ensure that the router is actually provisioned properly in the vManage?
Yeah. So first of all, there are multiple things that are there. Okay. First of all, you need to check with your tag team whether they matched the new RMA serial number to your virtual account or not. Right? Generally, they do that because they collect that's an RMA. Right?
Okay. So basically, you mean to say the when the new router is shipped by the Cisco, they basically automatically update the smart account.
They basically update the smart account and then your virtual account. So basically there are two things, guys. So one is the smart account, and within the smart account you can have the multiple virtual accounts.
Okay.
Each virtual account is your individual organization. Like you configure the org name, right? Why they have given this option is because Cisco also have the partner environment where partner is managing individual organization. In that case, they will have the different virtual account, I mean single smart account, but inside of single smart account, they will have the each virtual account set for their customers.
So in case of Air India, there will be only a single virtual account, no? Because there is only single organization name that we have configured in all the routers.
Correct, but you will have the single organization name, that is true, but who is actually managing your smart account? Is it Air India or is it your partner? That is what
Right now it is partner. Right now it is being managed by partner.
Yeah, so
but later on it will be managed by Air India only.
Yeah, I mean maybe you need to check if your virtual account, that org name that you are using, is under your partner's smart account or is under your Air India smart
No,
account.
it is in the name of Air India account, but no. There is a separate account for Air India in the name of Air India, but currently it is being managed by our partner because because it has not been handed over yet, right? So once we get a sign off, then we will manage it our own.
Okay. Yeah, basically then you will have the your own smart account. Under that you have your own virtual account, if that is the case. So within this virtual account is what this particular organization name is. When you do the RMA or when you are purchasing the new device, basically the team will put the serial numbers into that virtual account, because this virtual account carries all your serial numbers within that particular organization.
It would be a device serial number. It would be a certificate serial number.
It's actually the device serial number or the certificate serial number, the one that they are carrying.
Hello.
Generally, it's a certificate serial number that you can see. It is mix of both. You have the chassis ID as well as the serial number. Sunil, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah. Guys, can you hear me? Sunil? Sunil, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, Mr. Shrikant.
Yeah. So what I was saying is you can see both the chassis ID and then the serial number within your smart account.
Okay. So it would be a device serial number, not the certificate serial number.
No, it will be both. That's what I'm saying. You have the chassis serial number, chassis ID number, as well as the serial number, which is the certificate serial number. I will show you where exactly you can look for, so that you can see whether because there are few devices, as I mentioned, right? A few devices they don't have the hardware. In that case, they will not get the certificate serial number. In that case, it will have the OTP generated by the vManage.
So once actually Cisco updates the virtual account and the smart account, vManage will automatically pick it up from the smart account, or again we have to basically edit the vManage.
If you have the manual provisioning, manual upload, you need to manually do it. If you have already synced your vManage with the smart account, it will automatically get it.
Okay.
So you need to see what exactly.
In case of Air India, Amit this side, the smart account and vManage has already been synced. So any changes that will happen in PNP portal will automatically get replicated in vManage.
Again, as I mentioned, you need to have.
Yeah, Shrikant, you can carry on.
Yeah.
Shrikant, your voice is.
Sorry guys, somebody is saying something.
Shrikant, there is an issue with your voice actually. I think it's cracking most of the time. Yeah. I mean, actually what I'm saying is there is issue with your voice. I mean, most of the time it is cracking or it is not available. So just check with your internet connection.
Let me just see.
Hello, Shrikant.
Yeah.
Again, his voice.
Let me just see. So
issue लग रहा है भाई.
guys, is that okay? I just reconnected my audio.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so we have again we need to do the mutual trust between each and individual device. If you have the vSmarts also need to have the mutual trust between the vSmarts as well as with the other devices in your SD-WAN fabric. For with the vManage, vBond, and then the with the WAN edge routers as well. Again, I mean it's the same thing. So you need to have the mutual trust. Mutual trust means between all the devices. So here manage to the vSmart and then the vManage. This needs to be continuously there, right? So vSmart and vManage validation. So trust for basically the WAN routers. They need to have the again the root trust, the serial number, and then the certificate serial, and then the organization name that needs to be matched between all these three devices. And again, vManage validates that, hey, I do have the trust for vSmart, and then the vManage again, my organization name, does it really match with what they have, right? And then what is the certificate serial number that they have? Is that part of the authorized whitelist that they have? So once we have the initial things that are in place, and then when you are when you are provisioning a new WAN device or the new VH router for that matter, it will initially contact the vBond. When it is initially contact the vBond, the hardware certificate will be presented